You know, niggas gotta get their priorities together. Got their mind on the wrong things, spending their money in the wrong way.
Trapaholics, real trap shit.
Say you need that car with the rims and a trunk, just like Jim. It's more than life. Yeah.
I'm telling you. Talk to him.
Say you need that LV bag with the belt and the hat.
That's all you got though.
It's more than life. Yeah.
Talk to him. Real.
Say you wanna turn up at the club, like some bottles, impress them girls. It's more than life.
Fucking everybody.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And we are back. We are back with some main course for you, main course. And I'm talking about the Saints 17-17 tie against the Jacksonville Jaguars in preseason just this past Sunday. And before we get too deep into this with the player stats and kind of how we're feeling about those quarterbacks, I just want to state right now that the NFL's referees, I mean, they're in mid-season form with the calls that they're making against the Saints. So even at home, the Saints can't get a lucky break or a break. Even the clock operator can't leave 1 second on the clock for the Saints to possibly be able to win this with a field goal, win this at the end, and get their first preseason win and get their first get Spencer Rattler, even though it's preseason and he only started the game, started the second half. Be nice to get him a win after his 0-7 start in the 2024 season. So yeah, I just want to get that off my chest. There was a second left. When Jonas Sanker, who balled out in this game, was able to get that interception and was able to get it up to like around the 40-yard line. So there was 1 second left, and the Saints should have had an opportunity to trot either Groupie or Charlie Smith out there to kick a 56 or a 58-yard field goal. It would have been very fitting if they would have sent Charlie Smith out there, the UK kicker, and he ended up missing it. That would just be totally on brand with the Saints. And with the 7-17 tie, that's very kind of similarly on brand for the Saints quarterbacks and the quarterback competition. But anyways, before we delve too deep into that, let's get into this. So can I get a menu? And so the first thing is we had Tyler Shuck ended up starting this game, and it felt like kind of similar to last week's game. You know, it felt like the person that started the second half seemed to get a little more work, even though they both played almost a full half. But it just didn't seem. I think that probably had something to do with the Saints defense being like a sieve, a leaking sieve, the first half of the game, and giving up 17 points pretty quickly. And with the starters in for the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence, the 2-3 drives that they had, they pretty much got anything they wanted, and they were ripping off quite a few decent runs as well in the first half against the Saints. So I think that maybe just, I know it's the defense, but even a poor defense can make your young and rookie quarterback look not quite as good as maybe when the defense is playing better and giving your quarterback more opportunities. And that's kind of what we saw against Spencer Rattler. But after Tyler Shuck's start in the first half and start in the second half last week, and then Spencer Rattler starting last week and having the start in the second half in this game, their numbers and statistics are almost exactly the same. They're just a little bit different because Spencer Rattler has like 20 more yards passing, but the amount of attempts and completions are almost exactly the same. They both have a touchdown and an interception. The only real negative to kind of add to this is that Spencer Rattler fumbled. He had a strip sack and was fumbled in last week's game, and then total I think they're close in amount of sacks. Tyler Shuck may have like one or two more sacks than Spencer Rattler, because Spencer Rattler actually wasn't sacked in this game. Tyler Shuck was sacked twice in this game. One on the first drive where he like was dropping back to pass and he like stumbled like over his own feet. It had very reminiscent, at least to me, of the Mike Bell play when Sean Payton was the head coach. I was thinking like, is Kellen Moore or one of Tyler Shuck's coaches, when he comes to the sideline, are they going to be asking him like, "Hey, what kind of cleats you got on? What kind of shoes you got on?" But I'd say the standard cleats for the turf inside the Superdome is pretty standard, universal of what a quarterback's going to wear on that turf in the dome. So probably nothing for Tyler Shuck, but just look sloppy. You're tripping over your own feet and falling down, which we saw that from Trevor Lawrence as well. He got stepped on by his offensive lineman and fumbled away probably 7 points. So that's what saved the Saints to even being able to be in this game to come back and tie it 17-17. And I know that's kind of like a folly play and a boneheaded play by the Jaguars, but the Jaguars they turned it over 3 times in this game, and I think the Saints maybe got 1 or 2 turnovers last week. So if the Saints can carry over this ball hawkingness and just 50% of football and NFL and turnovers and things like that, a lot of it's just luck. So if they could carry some of that luck also over into the 2025 season, the regular season would be nice. Maybe kind of get rid of a little bit of the refereeing, the calls that the Saints have been getting here that have kind of been detrimental to them. But yeah, so the statistics and this race between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck seems to be very, very tight. So it has me questioning are we going to see a guy that could be potentially your 1 week starter in the third preseason game of the season? Seems reckless, but also seems like necessary as well, because we really don't know who the guy is. And Kellen Moore hasn't said who the guy is. But Tyler, like we mentioned, Tyler Shuck didn't have quite as many possessions to put up big numbers or look good, which I think that is what led to this quarterback race being as tied and as close as it is now. But he was 9 for 12 for 66 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, and an 87.5 quarterback rating. And he was able to get the Saints in field goal range on one of the possessions, was able to get them in range for a long field goal, the 51-yarder hit by Blake Grupe. And then on his last drive, he had the Saints moving, and he had the Saints looking like they were going to get into. This may have been the same drive actually where he was able to get the 3 points. I think it was where they were able to get the 3 points, because they were in Jaguar territory around like the 40, it'd be like the 43, or it'd been like around the Jaguars 43-yard line, and had a terrible drop by Chris Olave. Chris Olave had a bad drop, and he was targeted 4 times and only caught 2 of those passes for 12 yards, one being a long for 9 yards. But yeah, he was like wide open on that play. He probably would have been able to get them down in the red zone, or even to goal in a to goal situation, like first and goal, if Chris Olave would have been able to catch that and run with it a little ways. But yeah, so that was disappointing. Like that really hurts the race. Like if Tyler Shuck would have been, if Chris Olave would have caught that, and then Tyler Shuck would have been able to cap that drive off with a touchdown, and then he got pulled out, then I don't think there'd be like really any argument that Tyler Shuck is at least ahead a little bit. But I mean, their numbers are like almost exactly the same. Like I said, the only difference is Spencer Rattler has about 20 more yards passing, but he's also fumbled once, so he has more turnovers. And then Tyler Shuck has been sacked like once or twice more than him. So yeah, that would have led to some of the end of the argument between them two. What else? The other highlight from Tyler Shuck was the crazy like tight coverage throw that he made to Trayton Welch. It was a 28-yard receptions on one of those drives of his, and he was able to catch a 28-yard reception. And it was a crazy throw, but I think it was even a more crazy and impressive catch by Tyler Welch. And I mean, the Saints can get help at tight end anywhere they can get it. And if we got guys that can make jump balls and crazy back shoulder catches like that, then I'm all for it. Because I mean, there's no one really standing in the way of any of these tight ends that the Saints have on the roster right now, with Trayton Welch and Michael Jacobson catching a couple passes like Taysom Hill and Foster Monroe are not in the way of these guys. The only guy that's at the top of the mountain or is the top of the depth chart is Juwan Johnson, but who knows how long he'll stay healthy, and then he'll be starting one of these guys like Trayton Welch or Michael Jacobson, or just hoping and praying for when is Foster Monroe going to come back. So that's about all we really got from Tyler Shuck's couple drives. He had like 3 or 4 drives, and then that was pretty much the end of the half for him. The running game while he was in was kind of similar to what it was last week. Like I said, you get to see the most impressive 2-yard runs out of Kendra Miller that you'd see in the entire league, and he had some he had okay numbers, like some holding penalties kind of messed up his average a little bit. He was 6 for 21, which is a 3.5 average with a 13-yard long, and he had one like 17-yard run called back on a holding play by Simpkins, center guard Simpkins. So that would have made his numbers look a lot better if that holding call wouldn't have called back that 17-yard run. But Kendra Miller, both feet are still back on the bandwagon. So if he can stay healthy and we can get an entire game of similar performances where he has a dozen 10 carries and 40 yards and occasionally a touchdown or a couple catches. I mean, that's really all you'll need behind a healthy Alvin Kamara. And then on to Spencer Rattler. So Spencer Rattler put up more impressive numbers, more Tyler Shuck-ish numbers from last week because he was 18 of 24 for 199 yards, a touchdown and an interception, and a 95.7 quarterback rating. He also had 3 carries for 19 yards, a long of 11, and also had converted a 2-point conversion, which was able to tie the game up to its final score of 17-7. But Spencer Rattler, he looked a lot more composed and looked like he had a lot more like awareness of the pass rush, and maybe the pass rush wasn't that good by the time he came in because he's going up against 3rd and 4th stringers, but still impressive to see him not take a sack in this game. I don't think in any of the 7 games that he played last year he didn't take a sack in, and then obviously he was sacked twice last week. So I think that is almost the most impressive stat here by Spencer Rattler, is not getting sacked at all. And then he also was able to get a draw. He was also able to draw like a 45 yard pass interference call on a play on a Jaguars defender, where it was like a kind of an underthrown deep ball where the wide receiver worked their way back through the defender to get the pass interference call. Like, hey, may not have been the prettiest play in the world, but I'm taking those 45 yards. And then later on in another drive, he was able to hit Mason Tipton for a 40-yard pass. Yeah, for a 40-yard pass to Mason Tipton, like down the sideline, like right on target, like a dime to Mason Tipton after he has the the underthrown pass interference call, and then another drive later. I think they may have got 3 points off of that, and then a drive later had the 45-yard dime to Mason Tipton up the sideline. But I think then that's shortly after that they had him in the around close to the red zone then, and Spencer Rattler threw like a terrible interception when there was only like 4 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So I honestly didn't think there for a minute that they were going to get the ball back at all. But yeah, Mason Tipton was a dog in this game and was catching a couple difficult passes like on the sidelines and sliding down and doing his best slant boy impersonation on some catches. So Mason Tipton, training camp legend, training camp MVP, has shown that he can carry that over into the preseason games at least, because he was targeted 8 times with 6 catches, 100 yards, and the long of 45 that we were talking about. And then the predominant rusher, while Spencer Rattler was obviously himself with his 3 carries and 19 yards, but also Velais Jones Jr. also had 4 carries for 29 yards, which was pretty impressive. Had a couple 10-yard runs there off of those carries, so that helped a lot in the comeback by Spencer Rattler, but also the defense playing a lot better, being like shut down from the entire game. Unlike last week, they were able to actually stop the run a little bit in this game after the first half, where they didn't get ran on the entire game. They only allowed, trying to see here, yeah, I think when they didn't allow like 150 yards rushing like they did last week. Yeah, they only allowed like 97 yards. Yeah, not 96 yards rushing, and the Saints had 87. So that wasn't too big of a difference. And I think penalties were about the same. It didn't have quite as many penalties as you usually do. I'm trying to see how many penalties that they both had. I don't know the stat that I'm looking at saying like the Saints just had 2 penalties. First penalties for first. Okay, that's what it is. I was just looking for like all penalties. Yeah. So the Jaguars had 4 penalties and the Saints had 6 penalties. So the Saints still didn't look great in the penalty category either. That's definitely not something that went a long way to helping them. But the defense is what I was trying to talk about, because that's what ended up giving the Saints a chance here in the second half to come back, because we had players like Quincy Riley getting a lot of snaps at corner, to where he had 8 total tackles with 7 solo and 1 assist, and then didn't have any sacks. So even though they forced 3 turnovers in this game, the pass rush wasn't very impressive. But Jonas Sanker, who you could maybe call your MVP on this game, had 5 tackles, 5 solo, with an interception return for 40 yards and a pass deflection. And then this may have been what categorized him for a pass deflection on a third down play. He had a big hit on a Jaguars defender, which caused a drop. But you had more pass deflections by other Saints defenders. Tyreem Powell had a pass deflection. Danny Stutzman, linebacker that the Saints drafted in this year's draft, had a pass deflection, but also 2 solo tackles and 4 total. And then Jalen Ford had a pretty impressive interception and a pass deflection with 3 total tackles and 3 solo. And then Rajon Wright had a pass deflection, and Jeremiah Martin had a pass deflection. So those defensive plays are what kept the Saints in the game and gave them a lot more possessions in the second half for Spencer Rattler to finally come back on their final drive, and he was able to hit Pettis for a 20-yard touchdown where he broke some tackles at the 5-yard line and was able to make his way into the end zone. And that was a good comeback game for Dante Pettis after I was pretty much done with seeing Dante Pettis after what he had looked like returning kickoffs in last week's game, where it just looked like he had no explosion, no speed at all. But they must have been hearing me when I was crying about that, because they didn't allow him to have any returns in this game. It was just Velais Jones with 2 kickoff returns for 40 yards, and then Jaden Price had 1 kickoff return for 31 yards, and then just 1 punt return for 13 yards. But yeah, Dante Pettis had a get back game, and especially at maybe a position of more need. Like, obviously you need decent punt returners, but the Saints need just warm bodies at wide receiver. So saying Dante Pettis have a game where he had 6 targets for 6 targets and 4 catches, with 4 catches for 57 yards and a 20-yard long, and that was the touchdown play there. So Tyler Shuck, or not Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, impressed with the way he was able to shake off and show some resolve and just passion and get back after he threw that terrible red zone interception. That he was able to shake that off and show some resolve and competitiveness to come back from this and lead his team to what should have been a win, because there was 1 second left. Even though we know, even if we got the 1 second, Charlie Smith would have probably came out there and missed a 58-yard field goal. But still, what Spencer Rattler did was very, very Washington Commanders-esque. That's kind of what they did last year. And what was that? That was like week 17 or week 18 against the Commanders. Spencer Rattler brought them all the way back, and then they needed to get a 2-point conversion to tie that or get the lead in that game. But at least Spencer Rattler was able to convert the 2-point conversion in this game. So that's some growth by Spencer Rattler, if we're going to end up seeing him as the starter, or probably seeing a little bit of Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck probably throughout the season, really kind of no matter who gets the starting job. I feel somewhere down the road we'll get to see one or the other again. If Spencer Rattler starts, I'm sure at some point we'll get to see Tyler Shuck, and if Tyler Shuck starts, we'll get to see Spencer Rattler, whether that's off of performance or injury or both. So that's the quarterback competition, your running backs and receivers. Let's just go over some of the special teams here, because that may be the position that has me the most concerned. So we've been banging on Charlie Smith here for a little bit about how we think he would have came in and missed that game winner anyways. But Charlie Smith, he was actually 2 for 2 on his field goals with a long of 40 yards, and he also no, he didn't kick any of the extra points. Yeah, they didn't even score a touchdown and go for extra point because they went for the 2 points. So he made all his field goal attempts, and then Blake Rupe had an impressive field goal attempt and make a 51 yards as well. And then we already mentioned the return men, and then what I'm concerned with, what concerns me the most in this game, and on this team, which is so ridiculous because the Saints have just since the release of Thomas Morstead, they've been just shuffling through punters like a deck of cards. It's been sad, honestly. And you think each year they seem like they're going to try a new guy and maybe it's going to get better, but it doesn't seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting actually worse. But these two punters, this punter competition that they got going right now, it's gross. Like honestly, like James Burnip from Alabama. I honestly thought maybe he's from Alabama, so maybe he'll be a good player. Not so much. Both of them had a decent average in this game, but it seemed like the Jaguars were starting drives like at the 30-yard or better, like on every possession that they had. But James Burnip was had two punts with an average of 43.5, had just one, just like barely inside the 20, and a long of 59. And then Kaya Kroger had two punts with an average of 49.5 and a long of 54. But I think that was to do and helped out a lot by a punt being bouncing like inbounds and bouncing a little bit and rolling a little bit. That helped him on that because I hadn't seen like any banger punts or look like any of the punters that we have in Burnip or Kroger look like they have a big leg or a powerful leg or have a leg that can bang those 60, 70-yard punts. I'm not seeing the leg from either one of these guys. So if one of these guys has to be their punter, man, I would prefer them maybe week 2, seeing if they can pick someone, maybe an old veteran off the free agent market, because I'm not overly excited about punter. I'm just as obviously concerned about the quarterback position and wide receiver position and the pass rush, the defensive line, and the cornerbacks and all that. But man, to be so concerned or worried about punter, like I just, it'd be hard to watch Saints playing teams in the regular season and having like an average starting position of 30 yards or better. Like I could pass on seeing that at all. But anyways, let's just go over a couple more. I think we kind of went over like the players of the game. We think it was definitely Jonas Sanker with the pass deflections on the big hit, and then the interception that should have led to a game winner, or at least a game winner attempt. Jalen Ford making that real impressive interception, really impressive. Some sideline saves like on some runs where Danny Stutzman ended up saving some plays from being bigger plays, bigger gains than they were by the Jaguars. But he also had an impressive pass deflection as well. Like that's really what showed out in the second half was definitely the defense getting the shutout and making it possible for the Saints to even come back. But you had some pretty impressive performance. You could say player of the game, at least on offense. You could definitely say that was Mason Tipton, and it was nice to see a get back game by Dante Pettis. But so that's week 2 preseason game against the Jaguars. They'll be finishing out preseason. I think they'll be finishing out preseason this Saturday coming up. Next Saturday coming up. This is 12 p.m. Central Time. Game against the Denver Broncos. I think it's at New Orleans, I believe. So at New Orleans, Denver Broncos. Be interesting seeing how Sean Payton is their former head coach, if they'll have any like joint practices leading up to this, or if like this is just kind of a throwaway third preseason game. Even though I feel as if we need to see more out of Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck before we can definitively say and announce who the starter should be for this season. But I'm here for it, and I hope more answers get answered, and questions get answered come this Saturday and after Saturday, and obviously for the season. And once there's final like 53-man cut downs, hopefully the Saints can find some diamond in the roughs and some veterans to maybe like fill some holes and maybe make some of the positions that they're not so strong at least maybe a little bit respectable going into the 2025 regular season. But anyways, I think that's about all I have for you. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?